All praise, all glory, all honors most certainly due to the Most High, the God of the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And peace to you in the name of Jesus. This is your brother Elisha Israel of the household of faith. And I count it truly a blessing each and every time that I can come before you to preach the word of God. And never do I count it as a light thing to do so. All right, brothers and sisters, I want to get right into today's lesson. And the title is Our People Do Not Know True Freedom. People do not know true freedom. And this comes on the heels of the 4th of July, which is in America, is the celebration of the independence of this nation from Britain, or Great Britain. And, you know, at least what I saw, I could talk about what I saw yesterday in the little time that I was out. I saw people, black folks, descendants of slaves, first of all where I lived, that everybody was celebrating, cooking swine and celebrating, having a day off and observing independence. And I saw Negroes dressed up in outfits that were all like the American flag. They had American flag shorts, American flag shirt, American flag hat. You know, so when you really think about it, the contradiction of America when it comes to the so-called Negro, so-called African American. And when you see that, when you see our people who were enslaved at the time celebrating the 4th of July, observing it, and the people who were engaged in that struggle, many of them owned slaves. It lets you know that our people simply do not know what true freedom is. And in some kind of way, somehow they think they've acquired it now. First of all, I want to deal with the hypocrisy of our people celebrating the 4th of July. It's really a slap in the face to their ancestors, to be quite frank with you. But let me read some. This is something that was delivered on July 5th, 1852 by Frederick Douglass, okay, famous abolitionist. And this is his poem, What to the Slave is the 4th of July. He said he was called to give this speech to celebrate that day. And he said, he starts off, he says, Mr. President, friends, and fellow citizens, this for the purpose of this celebration is the 4th of July. It is the birthday of your national independence and of your political freedom. This to you is what the Passover was to the emancipated people of God. Okay? Then it says, it carries your minds back to the day and to the act of your great deliverance and to the signs and to the wonders associated with that act and that day. Brothers and sisters, the 4th of July for our people was not, if you think about it, because I'm gonna read a little bit more of this later, but he said it's like the people of the book and their Passover. What happened on that time? They were delivered from bondage, and they weren't just free, they actually became a nation and knew what true freedom is. Freedom is based on sovereignty and land. That's what it is. People, that's what it is. Sovereignty, the ability to control one's own destiny, and land. If you don't have that, you do not have freedom. Freedom is not civil rights. Freedom is not integration. Okay? And oftentimes, true freedom, the cost of it, as Malik El-Shabazz said, is death. That's what blood has to be shed oftentimes. But let's go to so I want to look in the book. I want to start off in Genesis, the 15th chapter, and I want to read what was told to Abraham concerning his seed, because we really don't understand true freedom. And the reason we don't understand true freedom is because we don't understand who we are as a people. See? That's one thing education should teach you. Education, true education, should teach you who you are. But we have received an education both in the academic institutions of this nation as well as the religious institutions of this nation. We have received a miseducation. All right, to create something up here that should not have been created. Okay, let's look at the Bible, and let's look at prophecy. And in looking at the biblical prophecy, you will see yourself, you will see your condition, and you will see how to get out of that condition. Because quite frankly, our people don't know true freedom. We don't understand true freedom, and we don't understand our situation, truth, totally, and therefore we don't know how to get out of it. This is Genesis 15. I'm gonna pick it up at verse 13. Now this is the Lord. He is revealing, God is revealing the captivity of Abraham's seed. He says in verse 13, and he said unto Abram, know, who is Abraham, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. Okay, so he probably, it's shown unto him that those generations that will come out of his loins, his people, Israel, eventually became the nation of Israel, they are going to be held captive for 400 years. And he says in verse 14, and also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. What does he mean, come out? Mean integration? No, they're going to come out of that land of bondage into their own land. That's what was going to happen. So let's go to Exodus, because he said, you know of a surety they're going to be enslaved for 400 years. This is Exodus. Exodus, this is chapter 12. We're going to pick it up at verse 14. Exodus chapter 12 and verse 14. Now here's what Moses has said. It said, and this day shall be unto you for a memorial. Now what day is he talking about? The Passover. When they had to come up under the blood of a lamb. This was a mighty deliverance from God, divine intervention, which is the only way we're going to get free as a people. I was reading one of the reviews of the book I wrote, and somebody said, yeah, I guess we're going to be in trouble until God stop being mad at us. We're going to find out what you need to do. See, you weren't reading close enough. Man, people really don't understand what's going on. They don't understand what's in this book. And it's unfortunate because this book is about freedom. It's about the freedom of a people who were slaves, of black people who have been scattered into slavery all over this earth. It's about them gaining their freedom. And it's about you gaining freedom from death. This is what this book is about. But let's go. Just read verse 13 again. It says, and the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. Because he was coming through. This is the last plague, the death of the firstborn. Let's skip down to verse 23. It said, for the Lord will pass through to smite the Egyptians, and when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and on the two side posts, the Lord will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your house and to smite you. This is what Frederick Douglass was referring to. One thing about these people back here, they were biblically literate. They were biblically literate. When you read speeches, in early American history, colonial history, you see consistent references to or allusions to the Bible, because this was the main book of the time, the most influential book. So everybody, but you say something about the Passover now, and most people don't really have a clue of what that's about. But it says, the Lord will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you. And ye shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever. So we were supposed to keep the Passover from generation to generation to generation. And it shall come to pass when ye be come to the land which the Lord will give you. according as he hath promised that ye shall keep this service. So he said, I'm gonna give you some land. See, freedom, you can't separate freedom from land. Freedom, brothers and sisters, again, is not integration. It's not integration. Freedom is not you say you want to be in America, something you quite frankly can never be. Totally. Have never been totally. You might say you have been, but that's what does the history tell you? Every so-called advancement is rolled back. So it says in verse 26, and it shall come to pass when your children shall say unto you, what mean ye by this service? That ye shall say, it is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses, and the people bowed their head and worshiped, and the children of Israel went away and did as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. Okay, so they did it, and it says, so they took the blood and put it where it was supposed to be. Verse 29, and it came to pass that at midnight the Lord smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. One thing about it, they did not have the power within themselves to get out of this situation. You often hear our people when they talk about our issues and our problem, they say, well, what is the solution? We're going to get to the solution. But understand, it's not in your power. You have to tap into the true power source, which is God Almighty. See, people say, I listen to a whole lot of people. People say, it's a political problem. We need to get our politics together. Understand, if you do not get your spirituality together and come out of these hellholes they call churches, you will not get your political or economic or social problems together. It won't happen. Because the root is spiritual, we shall see. The root of the problem is not political. The root, brothers and sisters, of the problem is spiritual. It's a spiritual power. And notice, this is this mighty nation, Egypt. It took divine intervention to get Israel, who was a slave, out of that situation. That's what it took. Let's go to verse 30. Because even the top of the kingdom of Pharaoh, he was impacted. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians. There was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. Verse 36. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they require, and they spoiled the Egyptians. Right now, I heard Dr. John Henry Clark. John Henry Clark said one time, this book not real. How those people get that wealth? He was giving a lecture. Like I said, I listen to a whole lot of people. He said, how did they get that wealth? And you a slave. You didn't read this. Great historian, but you missed this. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians. That's how they got it. That's how they got it. Verse 50. Thus did all the children of Israel as the Lord commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. So they listened to God. But let's go to verse 34. Excuse me, Deuteronomy 34. Deuteronomy 34, I want to pick it up in verse 1, because they go into the wilderness to be prepared to inherit that land. And what are they given? They're given a constitution, not by some founding fathers, but God himself manifested himself unto these people and gave them his law through Moses. So now you have a constitution. Okay, let's go to verse 34. And now the land, a promised land that had been promised to Abraham, now Moses is going to go up to see it. Let's read this. This is this should show you how people don't understand freedom. This is Deuteronomy 34, verse 1. It says, and Moses went up from the plains of Moab unto the mountain of Nebo to the top of Pisgah that is over against Jericho. And the Lord showed him all the land of Gilead unto Dan, and all Naphtali, and the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, and all the land of Judah unto the utmost sea, and the south, and the plain of the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees, unto Zoar. And the Lord said unto him, this is the land which I swear unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob. So this is the land. He's showing them the land. See, you can't separate freedom, or you can't separate land from freedom. He said, I will give it unto thee, unto thy seed. I have caused thee to see it with thine eyes, but thou shalt not go over hither. So when you hear the speech, the famous speech by Dr. Martin Luther King, talking about, I've seen the promised land. I've been to the mountaintop and seen the promised land. That's an allusion to what? The Bible, right? That's to him. But notice the program that he was putting forth, and notice what's actually being done. He's showing him land. Moses is being shown the land for the people, not integration. As a matter of fact, they were supposed to be separate from the other nations. Sanctified. See, that's why I said we don't know freedom, because we look at it and say, if we could just go and sit on the same toilet with white folks, and go in the same businesses with them, even though you don't have the money to buy, and just live in their neighborhoods, that's freedom, brothers and sisters. That is not freedom. That is not freedom. It's land. If you don't have land, you do not have freedom. Our people do not know true freedom. So it says, and the Lord said unto him, this is the land which I swear unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob, saying, I will give it unto thy seed. I have caused thee to see it with thine eyes, but thou shalt not go over thither. And he died, right? In the strip, he died. And Martin Luther King was saying, well, I may not get there with you, but we as a people will get to the promised land. Again, promised land is not living in the suburbs with other people. That's not promised land. The promised land is a literal land. So he was using that inaccurately, which you constantly saw him making these allusions and these references to the Bible inaccurately, inappropriately. And the program that he put forth, quite frankly, even I'm not questioning the man's sincerity, but it was a terrible program. It was a terrible program. Because like I said, if you do not I don't care what anybody has to say, because this is biblical. If you don't understand the spiritual problem, you don't understand the problem, period. And he didn't understand the problem. Let's go to Joshua 1, because they actually got the land. And they were supposed to do something in the land. This is Joshua 1:1. It says, now after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, it came to pass that the Lord spake unto Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' minister, saying, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, thou and all this people, unto the land which I do give to them, even to the children of Israel. So he took it. He said, cross over the river Jordan, take this land. Not integrate, take this land. Every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you, as I said unto Moses. From the wilderness and this Lebanon, even unto the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, and unto the great sea, toward the going down of the sun, shall be your coast. So now he gives them the borders of that land. He said, there shall not any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thy life. Why? Because God was behind him. He said, as I was with Moses, so I will be with thee. I will not fail thee nor forsake thee. Then he says, be strong and of good courage. Right? Show yourself a man. It said, for unto this people shalt thou divide for an inheritance of land, which I swear unto their fathers to give them. Only be thou strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe, listen to this, that thou mayest observe to do according to all the law. So you have to be obedient to that what? Constitution. It says, which it says that thou mayest observe to do according to all the law which Moses my servant commanded thee. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the right hand or to the left, that thou mayest prosper whithersoever thou goest. And see, you prosper by keeping the law of God. If you don't keep the law of God, what do you think is going to happen? Obviously, you're not going to prosper. So verse 8, it said, this book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night. Right? Right, that's what you read of Psalms 1. You need to meditate, like I talked about keeping your thoughts. He's telling him here, your meditation needs to be on the law. Psalms 119, he says, let's just read it real quick. Psalms 119 and verse 97. David says, oh how love I thy law. It is my meditation all the day. I'm thinking about your law all day long. Psalms 1:1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord. And in his law doth he meditate day and night. Let's go to Deuteronomy real quick. Deuteronomy chapter 4. Chapter 6, excuse me. Because this was supposed to be carried out for the whole people for generation to generation. 6 and 6, it says, these words which I, Deuteronomy 6 and 6, and these words which I commanded this day shall be in thine heart or in the mind. Go back to that lesson I did on Monday. It says, thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shall talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. You're supposed to be dealing with the law of God. He said, verse 8, this book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein, for then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. See, that's what you have to do. You have to be obedient unto God's law. But, brothers and sisters, it was told that they wouldn't do that. Right? Just another reference on that before I get to that. You can go to Deuteronomy 17 and verses 18 through 20. Even the king, when he came up, he had to do what? He had to copy out the law and keep that all the days. Right? So that he would know how to operate. If you think about the law of this land, the Constitution of this land, U.S. Constitution, that's what you're supposed to be following. That's your guideline. For us, the law of God, the Torah, the instruction of God is on an individual level and on a national level. It's showing us what we should do as a people. Understand, we constitute a nation within a nation. We're trying to be something we're not. We're trying to fit a circle into a square. Of fitting, it's not going to work. Let's go to Deuteronomy. Let's go to Deuteronomy 31, because it was told that these people, Israel, were not going to serve God and keep his law, statutes, and commandments. Why am I showing it? Because, brothers and sisters, whether you want to accept it or not, we are the people of this book. This is Deuteronomy 31 and verse 24. It says, and it came to pass when we're not Americans. We're the people of this book. It says, and it came to pass when Moses had made an end of writing the words of the law in a book until they were finished. It says, which bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, saying, take this book of the law and put it in the side of the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, that it may be therefore a witness against thee. For I know thy rebellion and thy stiff neck. Behold, while I am yet alive, with you this day ye have been rebellious against the Lord, and how much more after my death. So he's telling this people, he's warning them about what they're gonna do. He says, gather unto me all the elders of your tribes and your officers, that I may speak these words in their ears and call heaven and earth to record against them. For I know that after my death, ye will utterly corrupt yourselves and turn aside from the way which I have commanded you. See, if you would have did it, we would have prospered continually. He said, the evil will befall you in the latter days, because ye will do evil in the sight of the Lord to provoke him to anger through the work of your hands. So he's telling the people, prophesying to the people, you're not going to do what you should do, and it's not going to work out well for you. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28, because he told them a fundamental principle in this Bible is blessings in life for obedience, cursings and death for disobedience. Individually, nationally, from Genesis all the way through, that's what you see. And here he tells Israel what was to happen to them. He said that if they were to obey, in Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 15 or 14, he tells them they would be cursed. Blessed if they were to keep the law, statutes, and commandments of God. And he says from 15 on down to 68, it's talking about the curses that will befall these people if they would sin against God. We're going to read some of these curses, and they should sound very familiar in regard to the so-called African American in this nation right now. It doesn't fit anybody else. And these curses, we'll read also, are a sign showing you just who Israel is, because their identity has been lost. Again, Israel is a black people that have been scattered into slavery all over the world. You might not like it. You might think that's ludicrous. What you understand, what you think has been told to you by the victor. One of the spoils of war and winning is you can rewrite history to be, you can make it to whatever you want it to be, and you can make the people who you conquer whatever you want them to be. So when you look in the mirror and see that reflection, look at what your oppressor has created. When you look at your neighborhoods and see the turmoil and see the lack of love and see the self-hatred, look at what your oppressors have created. Situations, but ultimately, brothers and sisters, the situation started, the impetus was our disobedience to God, who manifested himself unto us. This is Deuteronomy 28 and verse 15. It says, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. If you don't listen to me, you're going to be cursed. He says, cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. Wherever you go, you're going to be cursed. Cursed shall be the basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. And wealth-wise, you're going to be cursed. Your children are going to be cursed. You're going to be cursed wherever you go. Verse 28, the Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. He talked about prospering earlier if you obey God. But if you don't, you're not going to prosper. And that's where we at right now. Again, you listen to all these so-called leaders, right? There's a dearth of black leadership today. It's ridiculous today. But when you listen to them, they can have an analysis of the problem, but they don't know how to get out of it. I even heard one, his suggestion to the problem of the violence against our people was to, use all kind of tactics, go to white people's houses and super glue their doors shut. That's ridiculous. But that's what he said. So it says, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. So these men that are coming, they're not going to save you. You think Al Sharpton, I'm just saying his name. How you think Al Sharpton gonna save you? Jesse? You think some of these new school leaders gonna save you? No. Verse 30, listen to what's going to happen to you. It says, thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. So you're going to get a wife, and what's going to happen? Another man's going to take your wife. Not Jody sneaking in the back door. No, it's in your face. You get out while he going. You saw that with Birth of a Nation. In that one scene, I think it was Gabrielle Union. She was, I forgot the brother's name, but her husband, the master called for his wife, for one of his white visitors to his house. He was trying to make some kind of business deal or something, if I recall. And what happened? She went right in there. That was his wife, though. Jumped the broom and everything. What happened? He took his wife. Thou shalt betroth the wife, and another man shall lie with her. That was going on wholesale in slavery. It says, yeah, check out some of the other lessons I have concerning our people and the identity of our people. I don't go into that in detail, but it says, thou shalt betroth the wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. We laid the foundational labor in this country, but we haven't benefited. We have less now. And thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Verse 32. Listen to this and see if you see yourself. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fare with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. Your children are going to be sold into slavery. They'll be ripped from you, and nothing you can do about it. You got to ask yourself, who's their wives are being taken, and whose children are being sold? Let's keep reading. See if this sounds like you. Verse 37, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all the nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. Wherever you go, you're on the bottom. You got other people coming off the boat, crossing the border, and what they looking down on you, calling you the N-word and all these other epithets. Verse 41, thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them. Why? It says, so they shall go into captivity. That's what happened to our people. Let's keep reading. Because these, like I said earlier, these curses are a sign showing you who Israel is. So when you see these curses, you know who Israel is. Verse 45, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, letting you know what's going on. When Daniel got taken into captivity, he reverted back to the law that Israel broke. That was prophesied in the days of Moses. That prophecy, he reverted back to that in Babylonian captivity. Understand that culminated with this. Let's go to I'm gonna just pick it up in verse 68. It says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Egypt is what? The house of bondage. Hold your finger here, just so you know. When he say Egypt, he's not saying you're going into slavery in Egypt. He's saying a house of bondage. Let's see what Egypt is referred to in the Ten Commandments. This is Exodus 20:2. It says, I am the Lord thy God. God manifested himself unto his people. It says, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. That was the first bondage of Israel, and there have been many others. So he said, this is captivity. That's what the house of bondage is. Okay, so when we go to verse 68, it says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. You're going in a house of bondage or captivity again. How? In slave ships. In slave ships. Now you got, who is this talking about? It says, thou shalt see it no more again, and there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Nobody's going to redeem you. Frederick Douglass couldn't get us out. Marcus Garvey couldn't get us out. Nat Turner, Gabriel Prosser, Denmark VC, these great men couldn't get us out, meaning we still not out. Because we have not been home. We have not had what's restored to us, given to us. We don't have our land. We have another people in the land calling themselves the Jew. When you read the Bible, you understand that the Israelites were black people. Look where they were located at. The so-called Middle East, that's a modern, somewhat modern term describing which is ultimately Africa. Israel is a part of Africa. So geographically, you have the same animals there, the same land in so-called Middle East as in Africa. It's the same tectonic plate. And even when you see Israelites being mistaken for Egyptians, how you mistaken for Egyptians when the original Egyptians were black people? Right? You had Joseph mistaken as an Egyptian, Moses mistaken as an Egyptian, Paul mistaken as an Egyptian, Jesus being hidden under the covert of Egypt. What's the miracle that Moses did? He put his hand in his cloak and it turned leprous as white as snow. Jesus is described as a black man. It says his hair was white like wool and his skin was bronze as if it had been burned in an oven. Her one false Baptist preacher talk about, well, he's just talking about his hair, but he purposely did not talk about his skin. He's going to go along with the same narrative. See, he's so diligent and zealous in his foolishness that he preaching. Understand, it's a mistake to see something in the Bible and then don't deal with it and try to twist it to make your point. That's a dangerous, slippery slope. You're going to end up in hell doing that. So it says in verse 68, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Right? So you're going into slavery. Let's go to Deuteronomy 32 again, what Moses said, 32 and 26. He said, I said I will scatter them into corners. Because he's talking about why we don't know who we are. I said earlier, we don't know who we are, thus we can't know what freedom means. Again, that's one of the basic fundamental reasons for education, is to show you who you are. And God is showing you who you are through his word. That's why you can't discount him from your education. I said I would scatter them into corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. So now the identity is lost. And what's going on now? Let's go to Revelation real quick. Revelation 2 and 9. Because now you got another saying he's Israel. He said, behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. So you got some people saying they're Jews and are lying. He said, behold, I'll make them come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. You got some liars. Let's go to Psalms, the 83rd chapter. So you got some people claiming to be the Jew. They not the Jew. You got some people claiming to be Israel. They not Israel. So it says, keep not thou, in verse 1, 83 and 1 of Psalms. It said, keep not thou silence, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. Who does he start out with? The tabernacles of Edom. And he goes on to the Israelites. So that was something that was going on. If you think about it, when Israel went into slavery in 586 BC, because you had in 721, 722, you had the northern kingdom go into captivity, right? The 10 tribes. Then you had the southern kingdom when Nebuchadnezzar took them into captivity. What happened? Some of the Edomites even took a lot of that land. So in the days of Ezra and Nehemiah, when they were able to go back during the days of Cyrus, or from the decrees that were set forth by Cyrus and Artaxerxes, they were able to go back and rebuild. They couldn't get that land back. They never got it back. And they were under occupation during the days of Jesus. And what happened? He wept over the city, Jerusalem. Why? Because just not that long after he died in 70 AD, when you saw during that time, you saw the siege by Titus and the Romans. They came in, and that was the end of Israel totally as a nation. Because what did they do? They weren't killed then in the siege or taken into slavery. They went into the interior of Africa and settled amongst the peoples there. And that's why if you go to Africa, even until this day, you have many people who claim to be descendants of Israel. Israel is not a white nation, or they don't look white. Let me put it like that. They are black people. And they are black people amongst other black people. When you look at Abraham coming out of Sumer, those were black people there. And then they go into dwelling amongst these other people. These are other black people. Okay? So now they scattered all over. And so now when you have the transatlantic slave trade that we read about in Deuteronomy 28 and 68, because that's what Moses is prophesying of. He said you're going to go into the house, you're going to the Egypt, which is the house of bondage. He meant you're going into slavery by way of ships. That's how you got to think, how did we get here? We got caught up in that transatlantic slave trade that was prophesied of. See, we don't know true freedom because we have no concept of losing our land today. But they had it when they went into slavery, like I mentioned earlier, in Babylon. Let's read something here that the psalmist writes. It says in 137:1, Psalms 137:1, by the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down, yea, we wept when we remember Zion. See, we've lost our mind. We've lost our way. We don't think we have a land, so we dressing up in American flag shirts and shorts and hats, trying to be Americans and cooking swine. When God said be sanctified, when God said the swine is an abomination unto you. So you got God's people who's supposed to be holy, who's supposed to be sanctified, following these people who don't know God. They are heathens. Heathens just mean people that don't know God. The people, that's the irony, the people of God are following people that don't know God. And they can't figure out why we're in the situation we are, but we got to get our politics together. It sounds good. It sounds good, but I'm going to tell you, that's not going to work. I'm going to show you what's going to work. But nevertheless, let's keep reading. He said, we hanged our harps upon the willows in the midst of, at least not at this time, the captives, they crying and they understand that there's a land that they've lost. See, we don't even have that feeling of a land. Because some people say, well, Africa's our land. Some don't want some land here. Your land is in Israel. That's your land. It said, for there they that carried us away captive required of us a song, and they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, sing us one of the songs of Zion. Then he says something. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? We are in a strange land even unto this day. We are in a strange land. Then he says something. If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. If I refer not Jerusalem above my chief joy. Right? So he said, listen, don't let me function properly if I forget my land. Because your land is, again, you cannot separate land from freedom. You cannot do it. Verse 7, remember, O Lord, the children of Edom. Again, going back to Edom. What did they do? It said, in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even unto the foundation thereof. Who said, destroy it. They wanted to see Israel destroyed. Let's go to 2 Chronicles. Because what's the solution? It's not that there's no solution. Brothers and sisters, listen, God will do his part if you do your part. We have to turn back to God as a nation. I'm not talking about America. I'm talking about, this is not a godly nation, never was. I'm talking about the descendant of slaves. We are the people that this book is talking about. We are the people. The signs, the curses are signs showing you, indicating who that is. So let's go to 2 Chronicles, the 7th chapter. Excuse me, 6th chapter, excuse me. And I just want to read something here, because here Solomon made a prayer of dedication to the temple. Right? And he made this prayer just in case. So he made this prayer concerning the people. Let's see what he said. This is 2 Chronicles 7 and verse 36. It said, if they, talking about the people, if they sin against thee, for there is no man which sinneth not, and thou be angry with them and deliver them over before their enemies, and they carry them away captives unto a land far off or near. Is that not what happened to us? So we've been carried away captive in a faraway land that's not ours. Been given a whole nother mindset. It says, yet, verse 37, yet, this is 2 Chronicles 6 and 37. Pay attention. Yet, if they bethink themselves in the land whither they are carried captive. So if it comes to mind, but take it in their hearts, again, it's about the mind, and turn and pray unto thee in the land of their captivity, saying, we have sinned, we have done amiss, and have dealt wickedly. If they acknowledge their sin in the land that they were carried captive as a nation. You see, Daniel did it that's what he was doing when he was praying. You see that one prayer he made, he acknowledged the sin of his people. But it says, verse 38, if they return to thee with all their heart and with all their soul in the land of their captivity, whither they have carried them captives, and pray toward where? It says their land. Praying toward what? Praying towards Jerusalem specifically. Which thou gavest unto their fathers, and toward the city, that's Jerusalem, which thou hast chosen, and toward thy house, which I have built for thy name. Verse 39, pay attention. It says, then hear thou from the heavens, even from thy dwelling place, their prayer and their supplications, and maintain their cause, and forgive thy people which have sinned against thee. You want freedom? You want relief? You want to be back on top? That's what you need to do. It's not about your politics. It's not about your economics. It's not about you getting some guns. What it's about is repairing a relationship between you and your God. He is the power source. He is the power source. There is nothing, absolutely nothing that your enemies, that your oppressors can do against you if God be for you. Absolutely nothing. They will fall. But you have to do what this says. Let's go to I want to read I want to go just right in 2 Chronicles 7. I'm going to read verse 14, because that prayer that was made was confirmed by God, divinely confirmed. It says, verse 14, it said, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. We have to turn from our wickedness. It says, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. That's what he'll do. And it's going to be done. Last place. It was supposed to be the last place some time ago, but I think this is for real the last place. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy. Back to the writings of Moses. Deuteronomy 4. Because it's going to happen. You may laugh and scoff and mock right now, but understand who you laughing at and scoffing and mocking. It's not me. Understand, it's not me. What I'm doing and what I continue to do and have been doing for some years now is read this book. That's it. That's it. I continually read. Notice I'm reading this book. This is Deuteronomy 4 and verse 26. It says, I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day that ye shall soon utterly perish from off the land until ye go over Jordan to possess it. He said you are going over Jordan to possess it. Now he say, hey, you go corrupt yourselves. You shall not prolong your days upon it, but shall utterly be destroyed. And that happened. This is prophesied before. This is how you know you're dealing with the truth. This is how you know you're dealing with the true word of God. I tell it from the beginning, from ancient times, things that are not yet done. It says in verse 27, and the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the people, among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead you. That's where we are. And what we're going to be doing now, and there ye shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. You're not going to have the true living God. You will be dealing with some false gods, and that's what we're doing as a people. Wholesale. We've inherited this false religion that we got in slavery. This false Christianity, we perpetuate it. You got the people of God, now they Buddhists. The people of God, they Jehovah's Witnesses, they Mormons, they Baptists. None of that which you can read about in the Bible. You know the true and living God of this creation manifesting himself unto. That's who you need to get right with. Forget your government official. Understand. Your God can deal with your government official. You can come to their his or her mind and persuade them. And he can do it any kind of way, any way it takes. We worried about some politics in a system that they can change. They have the power to change the rules as they see fit. You win and just change the rules. You ain't figured that out yet? Talking about some politics, man. They will change the rules. So you're like, man, I was winning. I gotta know. That's true power. They follow the rules when they want to, and they change the rules when they want to. That's what you don't understand. Verse again 27, and the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead you. And there ye shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see nor hear nor eat nor smell. But then from this thou shalt seek the Lord thy God. Thou shalt find him. And thou seek him with all thy heart and with all thy soul. When thou art in tribulation and all these things that come upon thee, even in the latter days, if thou turn to the Lord thy God and shalt be obedient unto his voice. For the Lord thy God is a merciful God. He will not forsake thee, neither destroy thee, nor forget the covenant of thy fathers, which he sware unto them. He's waiting on you. You have to make the move. His work will be contingent upon what you do. Just like we say, listen, he's knocking at the door. He said, hey, listen, you answer, I'll come in and sup with you. That's on an individual level. You take a step towards God, he'll take a step towards you. We as a people need to forget about this foolishness and turn back to our God. That's what we need to do. And that is the answer to our problem. And our problem, we don't know who we are. We don't know and understand our problem spiritually, the disconnect we have with God, and thus we can't understand what true freedom is. I want to thank you for your time.